Welcome to the Gym and Tonic podcast. I'm your host, Shanae Kunsa from SK Bodyworks, and this is a space where self-development meets holistic health. This podcast will help you create transformation from the inside out, blending all things mindset, healing, habits, energetics, spirituality, health, fitness, and nutrition. And through these episodes, I'm going to help you activate your highest self and create a life that feels as good as it looks, mixed in with some laughs, a few F-bombs, and a whole lot of truths that your soul has been craving to help you evolve, expand, and align with your highest potential. So let's dive in and step into your next evolution. Hello and welcome to the Gym and Tonic podcast. Today I'm welcoming a very special guest onto the podcast, and that special guest is one of my amazing clients, Jenna Cormack. Welcome to the podcast, Jenna.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here and share my story.
I'm really excited for today's episode and diving into your story and really, I guess highlighting your journey, speaking into, your experience and your success story from working together within my one-on-one life and mindset coaching offer. And to give the listeners, I guess, some context around our journey together, Jenna and I have spent 6 weeks together, which involved just 3 coaching sessions. And you were able to have such an incredible transformation in really like a short period of time. And it was an absolute vibe being able to support you on that journey. And I really hope that today's episode and Jenna's journey truly, inspires you as a listener listening to this episode, inspires you into action, on your own self-development journey, and helps you realize what's really possible when you decide to show up for yourself, when you invest in yourself and, take the aligned action and really move for where you want to go. So let's dive in. So to paint the picture a little bit, before Jenna and I guess, started working together, she was feeling, unfulfilled and stuck, like she was lacking a little bit of purpose and freedom and energy. And at the time, she was loving her job, but feeling, so exhausted every day from, spreading herself too thin. So Jenna, can you expand on this a little bit and share, your story and also a little bit about where you were at, in life before we actually started working together?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a pharmacist. I've been a pharmacist for nearly 15 years and I absolutely love what I do. I am so blessed to be able to help people every day and the amazing team and the store that I've created. And I guess what happened was, I've been at this one pharmacy now for 10 years and I'm one of the owners there. And I think on paper, I look like I had achieved everything. I won Pharmacist of the Year award a few years ago. I had got ownership in a couple of pharmacies. Like I had done all these things that people were that's it. What else could you possibly want? But I guess after the stress of COVID and being in pharmacy then and just the ever kind of growing pharmacy that I was creating, the bigger team, the more customers, it became a point where I was like, I don't feel that sense of purpose was truly aligned with me anymore. I love what I do, and I felt like I wasn't able to, I could help more people in different ways and more ways, live a more holistic, healthy life because I'd gone on my own health journey. So I kind of was like at a bit of a point where I was like, I feel like I need to do more, but I didn't know what that looked like or how to even start that. So it's kind of when I started reaching out and looking inwards in myself and started looking into like breath work and meditation and just different things to try and just start getting into me, which is how we met. So
Yes.
it was kind of that kind of everything started feeling aligned from that point. I was like, no, this is I'm heading in the right direction.
Yes, yes, I love that. And I do remember when we first met at the Renew and Release event earlier this year. And I remember having a bit of a conversation with you that day. And well, you just clicked up, like
Yeah.
clicked off. But obviously, we didn't start our coaching journey till a little bit sort of later on as well. And I guess what actually initially made you sort of like reach out for coaching? Like, what were you at that point in time when we first started working together? Like, what were you, I guess, struggling with the most at that time?
I think, first of all, it was your energy when I met you at that renew and release. I just kind of was like, oh, she's got a wonderful, um, calming, positive, and I just felt drawn to you. I was like, no, I really like. I was like, I felt connected, and so I followed you on social media, and I was watching you, and it was just when you'd started offering your coaching sessions, and I had never done anything like that before. I'd always been very uh, self-directed. I knew what I wanted and got what I wanted, but I wanted to do more, and I wanted to do more for the world, I guess. Um, and then when you were saying these things about why you got into it initially when we chatted, and I thought that's really aligned with me. So I thought, you know what? I was at a time where I was like, I need to start investing in myself and what I really want out of the world and what I want for my life, which is why I made the decision. I was like, look, I've got nothing to lose. I may as well just give it a go. I've never done it before. I'll be open-minded and we'll just see where it takes me.
Yes, yes, I love that. And like that open-minded and like curiosity aspect is such an amazing trait to have because it truly does, it's like support that journey of growth. And, at that time, I know that you were so open to the growth because, you were looking at like going inwards and, all those different like modalities and like, really prioritizing yourself in that sense and investing in yourself, which is amazing. And, I know when we first started working together, there was, I guess like energy wise was quite low. Like you were quite, strapped for time, being such a busy, working as a pharmacist and even for a second going back to what you said before, like during COVID, like I couldn't imagine that time in COVID when, everyone was like going to the pharmacy and like it would have been chaos for you. So I can only imagine how thin you would have been spread at that point. But yeah, even just going back to, sorry, what I was saying, going off topic there, when we first started working together and, even I guess that little bit of I guess lack of kind of like self-worth and sort of tying that worth a little bit to, how good you do your job or how hard you work, and putting, your job before yourself and that feeling of like, that you're meant for more, like more purpose and making more of an impact and a difference. And I truly know that you will fulfill and step into that 1000%. And it's like the best I guess work we can do on that journey is like working on ourselves, which is yeah so amazing. And I know we even through our journey as well, which we'll touch on, but we created a lot of boundaries, and I guess even sort of like self-inquiries. And before we do sort of go into a little bit more about your journey, I know prior to us working together, and I know you just said as well, like you had never done anything like coaching before, or worked with a coach. Was there anything that you specifically tried, aside from sort of like the breath work and the meditation, that you specifically tried to shift like what you were experiencing?
I read lots of books. So I read lots of books and I listened to lots of audiobooks. And I'm so grateful for that because I don't think any of them gave me one whole answer, but
Mm,
these many, many, many books I've read, they all kind of helped create a big picture, which is, I think, what put me in a frame of mind to have the mental space to let this kind of thing in and to be able to open up to it. So I think that's kind of what led me in here was really reading in depth, not just watching quick videos, but really getting in depth in a topic and understanding that, and then taking a little bits of that and then little bits of something else and reading other people's stories and journeys. And that kind of all kind of helped fill this kind of gap that I had and allowed me to
yeah.
kind of proceed or move on to the next kind of thing that I wanted to try.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, reading all the books is like, it gives us so much, I guess, a lot of education and empowerment in taking the action. And it's like, we can also read all the books and not actually implement the things in the book. And it's like the saying of like it being shelf help, not self help. But, reading books, it's like it just takes one little sentence to read or something someone says or listening to something on a podcast. And it's like allows us to shift our perspective on something, which can be, so powerful. And during, I guess, our sort of journey together and our coaching, like what was your experience like during our coaching? Like, how did you find the coaching as a whole, especially going in, sort of like minded, not really knowing what to expect?
I literally had no idea what to expect. I didn't even ask anyone. I didn't even look it up. I was like, no, I like
I
this girl.
love
I'm going to
that.
do this. I'm going to try it. And I think the big thing that I got out of it most was your genuine energy and care for me. Like I could feel that you were like on my side 100%. And you barely even knew me, but you were like, no, I'm here for you. Let's do this. You were so receptive and open to me and my journey and where I wanted to go. And I felt that so much. And I think of anything else, that was the biggest takeaway I had was that you were there, ready to show up for me, like hoping only the best for me. And that I think meant a lot because it's hard to find people like that.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. And like
Mhm.
touching my heart hearing that. And, sometimes it just takes someone else to believe in us and the vision we have more than we believe in ourselves to like, be able to have the courage to back ourselves because, moving for where we want to go and, not sort of staying stuck in the same patterns, the same cycles, the same, beliefs and all those sorts of things
Yep.
is it's fucking scary, especially if you don't have that support network where you have, people who are truly, genuinely cheering you on and supporting you through that journey. So, for you to have that courage as well is a huge testament to yourself. And, even coming into the whole coaching space, not really knowing like what to expect, like, that can also be scary, but it's like, getting outside your comfort zone, being open minded and trying something new is truly where the growth lies. It's like when we get uncomfortable, um, when we get out of our comfort zone in that discomfort, that's where sort of growth happens because we start to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that's, yeah, ultimately growth. And what was some of the biggest like aha moments or realizations or like powerful shifts in perspective that you sort of experienced during our coaching? And, like the kind that really like deepened your self-awareness or maybe helped you see yourself in like I guess a situation in like a whole new light.
I think two things. So first was my time. So the allocation and use of the time I had in the day. Because everyone says they don't have enough time, but now that I've had this kind of journey with you, I fit so much more in my days and my weeks than I ever had, and I don't feel exhausted. And I think the other thing was my energy. I was always
Mm.
feeling quite, not physically drained, but mentally, emotionally drained. And I was unsure. I was giving myself so much to my job and to a lot of other people in my life, but I wasn't leaving anything for me. And it was not easy for me to be aware of that. So, having thought about what things gave me energy, what things drained me, and then how to set up boundaries so that I was able to keep my energy and my time for me and what lights me up and what fills my cup and what aligns with what I want to do with my life.
Yes, absolutely. And I know time was, one of the biggest factors. And it's like, a lot of us go through life and it's like, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time. And, like I've been there myself. And it's like, all we actually do have is time. And, for you to be able to, I guess, what we worked on that together through our time. And it's like being able to use it with much more intention and doing, the things that you want to do and creating space for those things. And, I know you're doing some study and things of your own as well. And it's like really creating the space for that purpose and impact that you want to make as well. And it comes from like, I know you just said sort of like we worked on, energy and like you said, feeling quite mentally exhausted, which, as someone who is, as a pharmacist, putting so many, like, you're seeing so many people in your day, you're, supporting so many others. It's like, sometimes it just takes the, when we do spread ourselves too thin, to someone to turn the mirror around and look at us and be like, we need that time for ourselves. And for you to be able to, I guess really take that on board and, even putting in those boundaries and, really being aware of self-aware, like of, what's giving me energy and what's actually draining my energy. And then take aligned action from that point, as opposed to, sort of like just going through the motions, because it can be so easy to like, get caught up in those cycles and, life just being life and the busyness. And it's like, oh, I've got to, do this, do this, do this. But it's like, sometimes we just need to slow down and realize like, okay, what do I actually want to do? And what do I enjoy doing? And move from that place, because that can bring us, so much more alignment and, energy as well. And I know something else that we kind of sort of worked on as well was, I guess exploring yourself on a little bit of a deeper level, but also kind of like friendships and, knowing again, like what's actually worthwhile for my time, like what's giving me energy, like who is giving me energy in my life, who is not. And again, using your time wisely. So yeah, that transformation itself with, usually using your time more intentionally is was huge and incredible to be able to witness. And I would love for you to even speak into a little bit about the difference that you felt in your life with the boundaries that we set, around work, around friendships, around, I guess just boundaries as a whole.
Yeah, so I guess I've always been a bit of a people pleaser. I've always kind of said yes to a lot of people, but I got to a point where I was like, I would go out with people and I'd come home so drained, and I'd be drained
Mm,
for hours afterwards. And I was like, do you know what? This is not how it's meant to feel. And then I'd have other friends where I'd see them and I'd feel so light and energized and, happy after seeing them. And I think you let me kind of see that for what it was. So the people that were kind of draining me, I don't not see them. I'm just a bit more aware about when I see them, what time of the day it is, how long I'm spending with them, and what the purpose is behind that catch up, and what I require of myself before and after that, and with that aligns with what I
mhm,
want. And it's not that these people are bad. Sometimes they're just people that don't align with you and don't fully understand you. Sometimes it's someone who's always going through a breakup, and that's exhausting. And if you're not in the right space to hear that, then you're not really adding anything to them and they're not adding anything to you. So it's kind of finding the right people at the right time. And I try to be honest with people as well if I'm not feeling up to it, because I'm a bit of an introvert. So I try and say, look, not today. My energy levels are really low. And I know that if I go, we're not going to have a good connection. It's not going to feel good for either of us. So
yeah.
let's do it another time.
Yeah, I love that. And, having the courage to really set those boundaries can really be hard. And, sometimes saying no to something that, it may be in that particular moment that doesn't feel aligned, and listening to, okay, what actually does feel like a yes. And, moving from sort of that point of view, which, yeah, was a huge, I guess, part of just sort of our journey together as well. And being able to witness you, create that change was very inspiring. And I guess thinking sort of around our sort of coaching journey as a whole, like how did you find like the tools, the resources, practices, and I guess just inclusions, I guess, within our coaching? How did you find that to support your growth?
The first thing, as I wasn't aware, I didn't know what was involved. So I wish if I did it now, I would have allocated myself more time to do that work, because it was at a time in my life where it was like people were on annual leave and it was like public holidays as well. So there was just lots happening. I was working extra. So I didn't have the time that I could have invested, but I still did, I think, as much as I could with what I had. And I was
Absolutely.
recording to my phone a lot, and because I didn't have time to write or journal, so I was talking to myself a lot and recording things, and just kind of getting my thoughts and feelings out there with some of the journal prompts, and they were really eye-opening to read and to kind of read back on.
Yeah, it can definitely be quite eye-opening and sometimes like a little bit uncomfortable to, when we do, raise our self-awareness around, how we're thinking, how we're feeling, situations in our life, our belief systems, when we actually start to really become aware of that, it can be really eye-opening, uncomfortable, but it's like, again, it's like that's where the most growth comes from. And, we can't ultimately change something that we're not aware of, right? So with awareness then comes choice. And, it can be a challenging part of the journey. And I actually put something up on my stories not too long before we got on our coaching call today. And it's like, our journey of like doing the inner work and healing and working on ourselves, it's like it's not always linear. Like sometimes it can feel like you take a step back before you go forward. Some days can feel, like high vibe, like you're on like this high, but then some days can feel like heavy. And it's like it's, all a part of the journey. And it's like every step is worth it when you can, ultimately get to I guess climb the mountain and like see the view on the other side. And it's like changing is hard, but staying the fucking same is harder. So I love that. And, the courage that you really demonstrated throughout our time together was, again, incredible to be able to witness. And I know there was also some qualities that you noticed within yourself that you hadn't sort of noticed prior to our coaching. I would love for you to even touch a little bit on that as well.
Oh, I think that would have been the people pleasing. I didn't realize I had done so much to um, always say yes and always kind of put my worth on that, especially at work as well. I didn't realize so much of my identity and my self-worth I placed on how successful I could be, how good I could do my job, how well I could run my pharmacy, all these things. And at the end of the day, I was like, I kind of got to realize, I was like, that's not who I am. And that's not the value I add to the world. The value I add and what I can offer is so much more than that. It's my health advice. It's my ability to listen to people, to care, to want to make the world a better place. Like that's the stuff that matters, not how good can you roster within a budget and, all these different things and how many times can you say yes to things that you don't have time for. It was really thinking about the bigger picture and what really aligned with me and what I can actually offer and want to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I was kind of saying before as well, like it's so easy to, get caught up in those like little bits and pieces throughout life and like going through the motions and the tasks that we, do regularly. And it's like, it's so easy to get caught up in those final little details and not be able to actually take a step back and reflect on the situation, be like, okay, like what do I really want here, like how do I want to feel, like how do I want to move, like how do I want to want my habits to look like, my boundaries. And I know something else in terms of those qualities that you really notice within yourself. And like when we really did sort of reflect towards the end of our time together, it was like, the expectations on yourself. I know that you mentioned that you were, a lot less hard on yourself, and also you were, more empathetic towards yourself as well. Which, as yourself being such a high achiever, is really nice to be able to come back to sometimes, because it can be so easy to place the worth on the external object or the external thing. And even when we're not consciously realizing this, like this is often always happening unconsciously. But yeah, I would even love for you to talk a little bit more into that.
Yeah, I guess I just, yeah, self-worth, I guess just trying to realize that I could add more to the world and that it was okay if certain targets didn't get met, that I was still a kind person who was healthy and who had beautiful friends and family, and
Mm,
not achieving certain targets or certain things that ultimately could have affected me negatively or my mental health negatively. Really, in the long scheme of things, the whole concept of life is not that big of a deal, and everything will be okay, and we'll work through it. And you just do the best you can do. You show up with the best ability you can, and that's, I think, what's most important. And I will never not give my best, but I just won't uh, do things that are no longer serving me and my mental health and making me feel better. If it's making me feel worse and I've done the best I can do, then I'm numbing now. That's me kind of cutting it off now.
yeah, absolutely. And not, I guess dwelling over the things that, often are so often outside of our control. And, and watching you sort of be able to recognize that, I guess like you are worthy regardless of output, like regardless of how much you do, how hard you work, and sort of how you show up, like you are, worthy and deserving of that time for you, and saying no to the things that don't feel aligned, and really, I guess, prioritizing your needs upon that journey as well. And what kind of surprised you the most about sort of our coaching experience?
Oh, all the questions. All these questions. You didn't give me answers. Like nothing that you did gave me any answer. Like you didn't say to me, but like, this is what you have to do. Here's all the steps. It was like you were unlocking all these different parts of me that I wasn't aware of, that I didn't have access to, and all these different questions that you asked me, whether it was on our meetings or whether it was through journaling or through some of the messages you sent me. That was the biggest surprise. I wasn't expecting to kind of delve so deep into myself.
Yes. And it's like, I love the saying or the quote of like, the quality of our life is determined by the questions we ask ourselves. And so often, we don't actually reflect or ask ourselves questions, like a coach would actually ask and prompt us. And, so, it really does take someone else to be, asking those questions to be able to really dig deeper into those. And, coaching is really about like asking great questions and, inquiring and becoming curious to allow you to really dig deeper into the unconscious and understand okay, what is driving us, what are our values, and all those sorts of things, because that's when that change becomes really powerful. And I feel like a lot of the time people have this perception of coaching as like, they're going to tell me, my coach is going to tell me exactly what to do and, give me advice and all these sorts of things. And it's like, of course, I'm here supporting you on that journey the whole time, but it's really about like, you already have all of the resources within you. And it's like, as a coach, I'm helping you unlock those resources and the inner wisdom that you already hold, because you already have absolutely everything you need. And same, for the people listening to this episode right now, it's like you have the resources within you. It's just helping you unlock and really tap into those to, step into a higher version of you, and really just have that self-inquiry to learn more about yourself. And, a lot of the time we are, and we spoke about this at the start of the episode of you being willing to sort of go inwards. I feel like a lot of the time so many people are looking outwards and what else can I do, or like they're just looking externally for change. But it's like until we actually go internally and focus on ourselves and do that inner work, it's like nothing externally will change, because our life is ultimately a mirror. It's like externally it's like like the mirror is like turning back on yourself as well. It's like, what does this mean about me? Like what what are my beliefs that I'm holding here? How can I learn from this? And what is this trying to teach me, and all those sorts of things. So that was definitely a very important part of our coaching journey. And I guess the work that I do within my coaching is asking those great questions. And I know when we also reflected at the end of our time together, one of the big things that you did say was like it really opened your mind to, asking yourself different questions.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So now I'm really in the position that I will still do some of the journaling prompts you told me, and I will just re-ask them to myself, and then my answers will change, and I'll unlock something different, and I'll go a bit deeper. And I'm trying to spend more time just being present with my own thoughts and not constantly rushing around from one thing to the next and keeping myself constantly distracted, because I think some of the most powerful thoughts and ideas that we can have are when we're just being and just sitting there and not focusing on anything or doing anything or distracting, but just being and letting it flow.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like at the end of the day, we are human beings. We aren't human doings. And,
Mhm.
to be in that space of being and that like in the beingness is so powerful, because, in that state as well, we're in our rest and digest, which is like our parasympathetic nervous system, which is where we have access, a lot more access to, our unconscious mind, and being actually, able to be aware when we're not in a heightened state of like fight or flight or rushing and doing. So yeah, that is definitely powerful. And I know that obviously also through our coaching journey, not only did you have like the journal prompts and access to, voice voice note and message access. You also had obviously like your personalized meditation track. And I know when I said that to you, you were like, oh my God, like I would love for you to touch on that a little bit.
It was funny because I listened to it when I was on a walk because I wanted to listen to it. I was like, I'm going to do it now. I kept forgetting at night. So I was like, right, I'm going to do it now while I'm on my walk. It was sunset, so the sun was up. It was a beautiful afternoon. And I just, it was lovely. And it was just so nice to hear all these, just to hear these things and then actually believe them as well. To get to a point where all the meditation or the notes you were saying and I guess the prompts you were saying to me in that was something that I truly believed as well. I got to that point, whereas if I listened to that before we started, I probably would have been like, maybe. But then I was like, yes, like, yeah, I've got this. Like, yes. It was really nice to be able to reaffirm that and feel that. And I listened to it a few other nights after that, just as I was going to sleep, just to kind of ease into that and just kind of get that into my subconscious as well, because it was, yeah, it was really lovely. And the way that you spoke about me and my journey and the things that you said were very personalized to me and my journey, and I could tell that through it as well. So it was just, yeah, it was fantastic. It was so nice to be able to like listen to that and get that really sunken in, and yeah, very special.
Yeah, I love that. And like a lot of the time when we have this idea in our mind of like, like this is my highest self, this is the version of me that I want to, become. And it's like until we actually feel into that and believe that, like we won't be able to embody the version of us to be able to become that version. It's like it's like that whole saying, like I've said this before on the podcast, but it's like, we have to believe to achieve. And it's like, it's not this like airy fairy like saying it's so true. If we don't believe we can do something, we are not going to do it ultimately. It's the same as like our belief system. If we believe something in our belief system, it's like our whole life is going to run off that program, and it's not going to do otherwise until you actually rewire those beliefs. So yeah, definitely powerful for you to actually, have that personalized meditation track and be able to feel into that version of you, of who you desire to, be and to become, and actually know that I can fucking do this. Like I've got this. Is so powerful. And I can even just then like feel the shift in your energy when you were saying that as well. I love that.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was true. It was very yeah, very inspiring, very powerful, and yeah, just exactly what I needed on that day as well. Because usually if I'm meditating with something, I try and be still, but it was a busy day, so I was walking, but I was trying to be really aware of my walk and not getting distracted. So it was nice just to walk and listen to that, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and just be present in the
Hmm.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how do you feel now, like after our time together, compared to, I guess, where you were when we first started?
So I guess when we first started, I knew I wanted something more. I knew I wanted to do something, and I just didn't know how to get there or what to do or how to unlock it in me. So once we started, I was able to we got to kind of dig deeper and ask those questions. And I really started to be able to put in place some things to kind of help me achieve really what I wanted, because I wasn't even sure. I was like, I want to help more people, I want to do more. And I wasn't sure how to get there or what that looked like. So you helped me kind of ask the questions and unlock things and make little small changes that help me get aligned and be really clear about how I wanted to help and what I wanted to do. And now I've got this like 6 month, 12 month, 18 month plan of study that I'm finishing, things that I'm writing, guides that I'm doing, all these things that I finally unlocked in myself, that I was like, I can do this. Like, why I can do this. I'm not going to spend so my days off and my spare time is really intentional with how I'm spending it now and what I'm doing. And I feel so, even so, sometimes it's boring stuff. I really feel so aligned and energized that it's all a step in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's like those, like I know you really highlighted those, like those small steps in the right direction. It's like those small steps sometimes feel, seemingly insignificant, but it's like that is the journey. It's like all of the small steps. It's like a marathon starts with the first step, and you've got to take every step in between that in order to get to the finish line. And I love the fact, which I know we were speaking a little bit about before we started recording our episode today, of your, you know, your 6 month, I can't remember exactly, 6 month, 12 month, 18 month plan of like, you know, where you want to be, which is like huge because I know when we first started, like, you're like, I know I'm like meant for more, but I just don't know, like, I don't know what, I don't know how to get there, I don't know how to unlock that. And like through our journey together, like you've definitely been able to unlock, you know, that, I guess, purpose within you, that, passion even, and that like fulfillment in knowing, you know, sort of where you're going in that journey as well. If you were to like summarize in like one word from like where you were when we started to like where you were, you know, like now when we finish working together, like what would those words be? What comes up for you?
Um, it's a really hard one. Does it have to be just one? Can I use a couple?
Yeah, you can use a
So
couple.
purpose, purpose,
Mm,
intention,
mm,
and um, probably just growth. Yeah,
mm. I love
yeah.
that purpose, intention, and growth. And that's obviously like now, if you were to like put the three words before we started, what would you say they would be?
Oh, lost, um, unaligned, I guess,
Hmm.
and maybe just a bit purposeless. I guess
Mm.
just a bit stuck. Stuck is actually a good word.
Yeah,
Stuck.
yeah, yeah. And that like stuck feeling is, you know, can be such a heavy feeling because it's like almost like confusion. I feel like really comes in that stuck because it's like I have like all these like things I don't want to do, but it's like, where do I go? Like, how do I get there? And yeah, I love that. Those words are really powerful and just like highlights really the transformation. And you know, what is really possible when you do, you know, have that courage to work on yourself, you know, ask yourself those deeper questions and be asked those deeper questions and really just be willing to do the work to grow into a more expansive version of yourself as well.
Yeah.
And what would you say has like shifted for you internally? Like, you know, like your mindset, energy, you know, self-belief, self-talk, sort of since we first started working together.
Oh, I'm so, it's funny. I wake up in the morning now and I always kind of felt like I loved what I love my job. I love helping people. I love being at the pharmacy. But I wake up now and I'm like really energized for the day. Even if something stressful happens at work, I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. Like I've always been positive, but it's like next level now. Probably annoying to some people,
I
how
love
positive and energetic I am. Like
it.
I just feel like I'm heading in the right direction and that what I'm doing is going to matter. And it's got a purpose behind it and it's going to help people. And I think just knowing that is enough to make me wake up and feel excited to live and be alive.
Yes, I love that. And like, I truly believe like to live doesn't mean you're alive. Like, you know, saying about before, like sort of going through the motions, it's like, you know, like there's so many people who are like are living at the moment on this planet, but it's like there's not a lot of people that are fully alive. And like you said, be able to wake up with energy to be, you know, just in that energy is so powerful. And you know, being able to be a part of that and witness that is so incredible. And, you know, I'm just so proud of your journey and, you know, how far you've come in really like a short period of time. And I know that you've still got so much more growth to come and that you will make such incredible impact, which I cannot wait to see. Um, and like, what would you say, like, obviously, with that sort of inner shift with, you know, what sort of really shifted for you internally, like, how is that inner shift showing up, like, in your everyday life? Like, I know you sort of touched on, you know, when you get up in the morning, you're energized and you're excited for the day. How else is that sort of playing out with, you know, like your decisions, boundaries, you know, no longer people pleasing, work, relationships, friendships, habits, all of the things? How's it?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I guess that I'm just a lot more positive and energized for starters. So I think that's very obvious to anyone who knows me. But also my boundaries around work, and the people in my life. I'm very quite confidently, very kindly say no to people or not give them all the answers. Especially at work now, I'm trying to, and I even say that to sometimes, um, my business partners, my direct reports. If something's bad, I'm like, look, I'm not putting my mental health or my health at risk for this. I've done the best I can do, and I think, to be honest, to be able to say that to people, if you think someone can do a better job, by all means, but I know that I've done the best I can, and I'm not giving any more of myself because that won't be helpful for me and it won't be helpful for anyone else. So I think being super aware of that, but I always do it in a very kind and caring and intentional way. So I think any
Mm.
of the messages I deliver now to people about my boundaries or where I'm at in my life is always accepted quite well. People are able to understand where I'm at and why I'm doing and saying the things I'm saying now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like not like sacrificing yourself for others at, at the expense of yourself, basically. And again, to be able to, say no to things, to be able to say yes to something else, whether that's your mental health and your ability in your job. It's like, as one person you can only do so fucking much, and it's like
Yeah.
you already are and were doing so much. And it's like, I know there was some little small sort of changes that we implemented along that journey, which like were small but made the hugest of differences. And boundaries are truly, like, a lot of the time it's like, when we don't set a boundary and we overstep our boundaries, we, feel exhausted, or, maybe we resent someone, or like, so, whatever the situation might be. But it's like the only person that it's actually hurting at the end of the day is us. And it's like a lot of the time we overthink how those boundaries are going to be received by the people, like around us, whether it's work, relationships, family, friends. But it's like, a lot of the time we're making it worse, like in our mind, of like how that person's going to react and how it actually is going to be, especially obviously, like you said, like communicate it in such like a kind and thoughtful manner as well. So yeah, like I feel like that's going to be a huge takeaway for like some of the listeners as well.
Yeah, I hope so. I think uh, being aware of my communication as well has been big. I've always been a good communicator. I think that's why I've been so successful in my career so far. So I think using that ability and furthering it and learning more about communication has helped me be able to deliver those boundaries and messages in a clear, kind, and thoughtful manner, so that
Yeah.
I can protect myself and what I want and what I can give to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a way that feels aligned for you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that.
absolutely.
And like, what are you like reflecting on our journey? Like, what are you most proud of within yourself right now from our coaching together?
I think just the shift in my overall outlook on the world and what I can actually offer. Because I knew I wanted to do more, but I just didn't know what it was, and I've become so much more clear about what I can, how I can help people, and what I can do. And it's about just taking the steps now to be
Mm.
able to do that in a meaningful way, and I guess help as many people as possible. There's only so much I can do behind a pharmacy counter in, a 2-minute conversation. There's a lot more I can do by sharing videos on social media and writing things for people and giving people tips and information that they may not have been able to access from, trusted sources. So I think that's really what I've taken away from it. And what's kind of been a highlight for me was just setting that, getting clear on that, and moving forward with that and feeling really energized and aligned with that.
Yeah, I really love that. And like, as a pharmacist, like, you are obviously very good at your job, and you, I would say, are not like your usual pharmacist. Like, I love that you have like that such like holistic approach, but it definitely is like, our journey together help you like tap into that purpose even deeper and be like, okay, this is my why, and this is what I can bring to, not only myself, but like the world, which is so special.
Mm.
Um, and if someone is listening right now and they're maybe on the fence about sort of like investing in themselves or getting coaching, what would you say to them?
I was a bit the same. I've always been really careful with my money, and I don't like spending money. so I've always been really intentional with it. But early in the year, I'd spent little bits here and there on that little course. I'd done a couple of other things that and I could see immediately. So I started with the small amounts and I could see the value from them. So by that point, I was like, you know what? I'm happy to make this investment because I I already knew that I wasn't gonna be worse off. I knew that. I knew
Mm.
that for sure. So I was prepared and I was ready to do that. So I think it's just, even if you start with small things that you're not sure about, start with the smallest options you can and see how you feel after that. If you're feeling energized and like it's something that is calling to you, then take the next step. Obviously work within your budget, but I think there's definitely ways. Like we just did the 6-week course because I wasn't sure if I would need more or if I would need less. And I think that was good for me because it got me clear enough to start working on what I wanted to do going forward. And then if we want to pick up later, I've got the option to do that if I need a bit more of a push later, or if I want to explore something else with you. But I think everyone's journey is different and they have different needs. But I think start small and go with what feels right.
Absolutely. And I love that word that you use, like that, like calling. And I truly believe like that feeling we feel when, something feels aligned. It's like that's our intuition speaking to us to be like, do it or like go for it. And like, it can be so scary to have that courage to, sometimes take that leap and invest in yourself. And it's like you said, like starting off with those small amounts and like noticing like, oh my God, like the energy behind this is like, you can see the value in it from the growth. And even just for me on my journey, like investing in myself is one of the like things that I wish I had like done earlier on in my journey because it's something that's brought like the most like hands down the most growth to me in my life and on my journey and investing in coaches and the experiences and it truly does allow us to grow and evolve and step into sort of more expansive versions of ourselves. So it can be scary, but sometimes it's like just feeling that fear and doing it anyway.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I wish I had done it sooner. I wish I
yeah,
had. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And what would you say to your past self before you started coaching? Aside from, I wish I did this sooner.
Yeah. Why did you not do this a couple of years ago? Just to be open and um, I think what the advice I think I wish I had beforehand was give yourself time to really sit in and absorb this. So give yourself the adequate time for that and to just be open and make sure you're in a position where you've got a bit of I always say mental space, like you need to
Yeah,
have a little bit of space up there. You can't be in a position where you're crammed and you're like boiling over with tasks and deadlines and things. You need to be a little bit of space there to be able to really take this stuff in, because if you don't, it's just going to be a lot harder for it to really do its job on you and work and allow you to really dig deep. So I think it's really important to try and make sure you've got a little bit of space there and that you're ready to do this. Otherwise, you're not going to get the full benefit out of it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's like creating that space for what is ultimately like important to you, right? And it's like a lot of the time we say things like, I don't have time. And, like I said before, it's like all we actually have is time. And it's like, how are we choosing to spend our time? And, like that whole I don't have time can be a really, block when it comes to working on ourselves. And it's like people will put it off until, insert, when I get
Yeah,
to this and when I get to that. And it's like, sometimes that is also the best time to work with a coach because some people, sort of get stuck in that cycle like for like their whole life. And it's like, I'll do it when this happens, but that time, never comes. So it's like maybe working with a coach to help you be able to work through that in itself. But it was honestly like such a pleasure to be able to sort of work with you on your journey. And what would you like? How do you see yourself moving forward now? Like, what feels possible for you that maybe didn't before?
oh wow. I guess now I feel like I don't have to always rely on my sole job as a pharmacist in a community pharmacy to connect with people, to help people, to really have value for people. and I guess holistically as well. So I'm really looking forward to kind of branching out more, and because I've gone through a lot personally. I've gone through burnout, weight gain, weight loss, gut problems, doctors for all these health and medical problems, and um, all these different things. And now I'm doing all this kind of study to kind of learn more about fitness and nutrition and movement. And there's just so much more I want to learn, because I want to share some of the things that I've learned and that have helped me. And I want to move forward with that. That makes me feel so energized and so excited to be able to do that and be hopefully help people the same way I've helped myself, but hopefully not over 10 years like it's taken me, but in a shorter time with a bit more clear, concise information, and kind of with the right person delivering it.
Yeah, I love that. And it's like the journey we walk, it's like a lot, like sometimes it feels like, going through those challenging moments in life, it's like, why is this happening? But like I truly believe that it happens, on purpose to lead us to our purpose. And, it can be, tricky to sort of navigate those challenging situations. But when we come out the other end, it's like, again, it's that growth. It's like the lessons we learn from the challenging situations and things that we navigate and experience allow us to grow and evolve. And I have no doubt with that holistic approach, which is something that I obviously am so passionate about myself, because it's really truly not one thing that is gonna change someone's life. Like it's gonna be taking that holistic approach, because it's like if someone's mindset is amazing, like that's great, because like our subconscious controls everything. But it's like if you're not looking after yourself and you're not getting any sleep, you're you're not moving your body, and you're not eating well, it's like that's going to have a ripple on effect on all of the other areas of life. So like that holistic aspect is so important, and I love the fact that you really bring that into your work, and moving forwards working on tying that into I guess what you're bringing to the world, which is so exciting. And to close today's episode, I wanted to ask you two questions. Truthfully, where do you think you would be like right now if you, I guess, didn't sort of decide to invest in yourself prior to working together?
Oh, 100%, I'd still be stuck. 100%. I would
Mm,
be stuck. I'd be feeling stuck and unfulfilled and not sure what the next step is. I might have gotten there eventually, but I don't think it would have been now. I think it would have taken me a lot longer, um, because I didn't have, I have amazing people in my life. But I think the issue with the people in my life is they're already like, you don't need to do more. You've done everything. Like everyone is so proud of me and where I've gotten. But it for me, I just didn't feel like it was it was what my soul wants at the end of the day and
mm.
what really fills me up. So I knew there was something more. So 100% I'd still be stuck and lost and not being clear about what I want.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And even just like spending a second, like reflecting on that, like how amazing coming that far from like feeling stuck and, unfulfilled and, lacking that purpose and, like exhausted to, where you are on the other end of it. And it's like, for those listening as well, it's like, like that change and doing something different can be so scary, but it's like who you become from the journey and the process and who you are like on the other side of that is worth every like time, energy, effort, cent like that you put into it. And, a lot of people look at, investing in themselves as like an expense, but it's like, it truly is an investment. It's an investment in like our future self, an investment in who we desire to become and, step into. And it's like, an investment is something that gives back. It's like it has
100%.
returns and it absolutely does. And, even just being able to, hear your story today and your journey of like, really stepping into your purpose and feeling fulfilled as a result. And like you said at the start, it's like on paper it's like everything's perfect. Like it's like you've got all the titles and you've done the things and you've had the success, but it's like until we go inside and do that inner work and work on ourselves, it's like all of the things outside of us can change, but unless we truly change within, it's not going to change how we feel when we get to that end result, because it's like so many of us, and it's like I feel like it's almost like conditioned from society, like, place our happiness on, that external goal, on achieving this, on, buying the car, buying the house, or, the job, or whatever it might be. But it's like, if we don't change anything within us and internally, it's like when we get to that thing, we're still going to feel unfulfilled, stuck, unhappy, lacking purpose. And it's like until we, yeah, truly do go in and do that work on ourselves, it's like that's when we can feel aligned and purposeful and have that happiness in the journey, not just placing it in like that end result, like that external sort of validation aspect. So that is so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So powerful. And one last question. What was your favorite part about working with me on your journey?
Oh, just your energy and your vibe, like just literally having someone who I feel like was there on my team, like rooting for me every step of the way, like really cared about what I wanted and what I wanted out of the world in my life. And yeah, just that for meeting someone that felt like they just wanted the best for me, and wanted more for me as well was just, yeah, the best.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I'm still rooting for you because I know you have so much potential. And, sometimes when, we are navigating different things and unfulfilled, it's like we can't see that potential within ourselves. And like I said before, it's like sometimes it just takes someone else to be able to, see that potential in us and really allow us to, be able to see that for ourselves through doing the work, through, changing our beliefs and, taking the aligned action and showing up in a way that, we ultimately want to as well. So that's so powerful. And I love hearing that, like my heart. Um, and thank you, Jenna, for honestly trusting me on your journey. And, thank you for your courage and your vulnerability and, your willingness to share your story on the podcast today. I have like no doubt that this episode will inspire others on, their journey by simply listening to it. And, it's truly an example of what really is possible when you back yourself and, invest in yourself. And, Jenny, you should be so proud of yourself and how far you've come in your journey, because I know I certainly am. And I know that there's so many more amazing things to come for you and, your journey and, that are on its way for you. And I know that you're going to make such a difference in this world. And you are just such a beautiful human and have such a kind soul.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That really means a lot. And yeah, I have no doubt that I'm going to be able to achieve the things I want to achieve now with your help and your guidance. Yeah,
I love that. And like believing it's possible.
absolutely.
Yeah. And as we already like spoke a little bit into as well, you obviously being a pharmacist, and like I said before, not just like a usual pharmacist, like an amazing one of a kind of pharmacist. And if you're wanting to follow along on Jenna's journey, can you tell the audience where they can find you on socials?
Yeah, so I've got a page that I share a lot of different tips about holistic health, but also about weight loss and pharmacist-specific information, supplements, and it's called Prescription for Wellness, 4 with the number 4. And I'm on Instagram and TikTok, and I try and post regularly. And yeah, I'm trying to answer everyone's questions because I've been getting a lot of questions and a lot of followers, and I'm happy to kind of share as much knowledge as I can, and I want to keep sharing my journey and on holistic health and weight loss and just being your best healthiest version of yourself.
Yeah, I love that. And I'll absolutely pop your links to like your Instagram and your TikTok all in the show notes below as well. So you can head there and follow along on Jenna's story. And is there anything else that you wanted to mention or say or touch on before we, I guess, start to wrap things up?
Well, you've had such a big impact on my life that I do plan on working with you again. So I haven't told you that, but I do. I'm just not sure when, but I will because as I said before, I want to make sure that if I'm going to be investing some more into myself, I'll make sure I've got the time and the energy to do it really well and utilize all the tools that you give me in the time that we have together. So I am going to be doing that again. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much for everything. You've really had such a positive impact on my life, and I definitely wouldn't be where I am without the guidance from you and your beautiful energy. And I guess I can tell how energized you are for the work that you do and how much you believe in caring people. So that
Mm.
comes across, and I think anyone who works with you will be able to see that as well.
Bless. You're gonna make me start getting teary. Thank you so much for your kind words, and I cannot wait for that time to, work together, and take it even deeper, and really meet you where you're at, and ultimately to get to where you want to go. So I'm so excited for that, and I can't wait. And for those listening as well, like if you are ready to, transform your life, my one-on-one life and mindset coaching offer is ultimately designed to really take you and guide you through a personalized, deeply transformative journey, where you'll finally step into that most empowered version of you and, tapping into those innate resources and wisdom and fire that are already within you. Because, like I said before, you already have everything. It's like I just help you unlock that and work with you on that journey. And, together we'll break through limiting beliefs, create new habits, and, ultimately design the life that you've always dreamed of and, once thought that probably wasn't possible for you. And, this offer is really truly for the soul who is, done with, feeling overwhelmed or stuck or unfulfilled and is ready to, heal and do the inner work to really transform their life, their mindset, their energy to really sort of thrive in, every aspect of their being. So if that is feeling like a calling for you or you're feeling activated, follow that gut feeling, follow your intuition, and send me a DM on socials at SK Bodyworks. And, to find out more, we can schedule in a free initial chat to chat a little bit further. And, even after hearing Jenna's transformation today as well, if you're, really feeling that call to rise, but, maybe you're telling yourself, like this, what I was saying before, like I don't have time, or now's not the right time, or I'll do it when I have more money, or when life calms down, or insert X struggle or thing. It's like whatever that narrative might be, I guess. It's like the hard truth is, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And, the most growth happens when we, get outside of our comfort zone, because nothing good happens from being in our comfort zone. Like no growth comes from being in the familiar, in the same. And growth comes when you really lean into that discomfort, and like Jenna came with that open-mindedness and willingness to take on board and do the work and ultimately transform and evolve. And every time like you choose to sort of lean in, like you're expanding your capacity. And it's not about completely eliminating like that discomfort, because it's always going to be discomfort. Like with every new level there's a new devil. I love that saying. But it's really about, I guess, like learning to hold it without like letting it define you. And our brain's job and our ego's job is to really keep us safe. And like sometimes that means like holding on to the old because it's, familiar. It's, we know, it's safety, even though we, consciously desire differently. But ultimately safety isn't found in, staying small. It's found in expanding into and just expanding to hold more of what we truly desire and who we truly are. And, knowing that our future is shaped by what we do like today, not tomorrow, not Monday, not next week, not next year. And, I guess it's that idea of like stopping, fear keeping us hostage, or, perfectionism, paralyze us, and like allowing like procrastination to even steal our potential. And it's like progress begins when you just start moving. It's like that first step sometimes can lead to the step after that and the step after that. So if there's anything that I want you to do from today's episode is I hope that you take away that movement, like that moving towards your higher self, because the future you is going to be so proud of you for choosing to lean in into that discomfort, even when it felt scary, or even when it felt, unfamiliar. So I will leave you with that. Thank you, Jenna, again, so much for coming onto the podcast today and sharing your story. And I am so excited to see what else is in store and is coming for you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a
My
pleasure.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And it was such a joy working with you. And for those listening, thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. And I cannot wait to chat to you on the next episode. So bye for now.